You're on 94.1 FM 3WBC with Jerry Gerges presenting the Egypt Australia Radio Show, a weekly English edition covering local and international news sourced from Australia, Egypt and the Greater Middle East and North Africa region. The program affectionately covers the arts, culture, trade and politics. Sunday evening, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. And now here's Jerry Gerges presenting the Egypt Australia Radio Show, 94.1 FM 3WBC, the voice of the Inner East.
Hi, and welcome to 94.1 FM, Egypt Australia Radio Show. And tonight I'm with Gurra Downs Date Company. I'm actually speaking to the Managing Director, Dave Reilly. Gurra Downs Date Company is located near the town of Berry, 240 kilometres northeast of Adelaide, South Australia. Produces a fine quality of commercial quantity eating dates. Like we said, Dave Reilly is the Managing Director of Gurra Downs, and his wife, Anita Reilly, she's also a Director of Gurra Downs Date Company. Hi and welcome.
G'day, Jerry. Very good to catch up again. Thanks for following over all these long years.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. Yeah, I know we've caught up in the past, but let me just remind our listeners, we get really excited about this time of the year, February and May, and we'll talk about that. Let me just remind our listeners again, the Gurra Downs Date Company, PLANTATION, in 2000, the Reilly family imported their first tissue culture date palms from the UK. Also, holistically, in 1996, they started growing Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon vineyards. Dave, tell us about the recent pains. Now, we're talking about biblical-sized torrential rains, the floods in the Riverland, South Australia. We've been nationally, it's been covered. In South Australia, all this rain that's been coming down in the Riverland area. What impact also has the fruit fly? There was a fruit fly outbreak and the exclusion zone that meant for you. Dave?
Yes, well, firstly, the flood, it really did create a lot of anxiety and extra work. So basically our properties, we have a high ground property, which was unaffected by the floods.
Right.
The water supply to that property comes through another farm of ours.
Yep.
And on that farm, we had 400 acres underwater. So the water rose, it cut our roads off. We couldn't access our farms. We couldn't get tractors in to mow weeds, or we couldn't get to the date palms to do the work. We had to do a lot of extra work to our pump house to shore that up and protect our infrastructure. We also did a lot of on-ground irrigation adjustments to bypass non-return valves. And so it basically was 3 months of hard work.
Yep.
Setting up our irrigation system so it could survive without electricity. So it wasn't, to give you some idea, our river is normally out on our property is 400 metres wide.
Right.
In the flood, it was 6 kilometres wide.
Wow, that, because I know the state broadcast, national broadcaster ABC was covering very much on a daily basis out of the Riverland, and I'm thinking, I know this place, and my heart felt was very much for yourself and all your family and all the growers in the area.
Yeah, we lost one shed. We've lost quite a few date palms because the water went through the date plantation. So there's quite a few little palms. The water had come and went in the top of the crown. So we've got a few replacements to do there. But from an environmental perspective, absolutely magnificent benefits. You know, the trees way out on the floodplain have got a good drink. I've never seen so much bird life around. We've got ducks and eagles and spoonbills and it's the frogs, the dragonflies. It has been a boom for the environment. It's been spectacular.
So that's very good. I'm glad you've said that, because all we've been hearing, of course, the pains. Now, before the floods, Dave, we've also, I remember, the fruit fly.
Yes. Oh, look, we've probably been under constant restrictions for 3 years now. It started out, there was one zone in the Riverland.
Yes.
And now I think there's something like 23 different zones. And it just seems to me that, we haven't been able to succeed as a region in eliminating the fruit fly. So we've had to live in amongst this new dynamic of having to have restrictions to some of our markets. It's really difficult to get fruit. Adelaide was a good market for us because it's only 2.5 hours away.
Yes.
But fruit through there means it needed to be fumigated, so we lose our organic status during that process. So not impossible, but we're trying to grow and sell really healthy fruit, so we don't like to have it fumigated, etc. So that was for Adelaide, but fortunately for Melbourne and for Sydney, no restrictions. So we're allowed to pack the fruit and send it. I will say from the outset that our farm hasn't incurred any fruit fly infestations.
Right.
So we're free. We've got free farm certification, so we're free of fruit fly. But regionally, if you're within 15 kilometres of an outbreak zone, the restrictions apply.
Right, okay. So you've been able, from a customer's point of view, you've been able to send some to South Australia and go through the normal of distribution of your fruits around Australia and elsewhere.
Perth was a trouble for us earlier or late last year. We had to get product fumigated to get into Western Australia as well. And these things are all time delays, because it's got to sit somewhere for 2 days before it can go on a train and different things. So basically, most of the marketplace that we operate in was unaffected, but it was the areas we were trying to build new markets. Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide, these areas. Yeah, there were some restrictions that applied for those marketplaces.
Dave, last a week or so, I had the pleasure talking to the other commercial date plantation in Alice Springs, it formerly started off by Jim and Trudy Ludi. Now it's run by the cooperative, Tamara Cooperative. They had something like about 700 palms, and they're growing. What's your stats as we speak?
In terms of plant numbers?
Yes.
We are very, very close to 3,000 trees.
Well done.
So, but basically, what our role has been historically is we import a lot of different cultivars that originate in all over the world. In date growing regions, we bring them into Australia, and then we do an evaluation trial at Gurra Downs. So all of the trees that I mentioned, the 3,000, some of the cultivars we brought in aren't so climatically suited to the Riverland.
Right.
So they will ultimately, with a plantation left, we'll be replacing those with the ones that have proven to be a really good selection for the region. It's all about having the right cultivars, and unfortunately there's no substitution but to grow them for many years to work out if they're going to suit the environment that they're attempted to be grown in.
The plantation is not only encompassing and holistically growing grapevine, but it's got pomegranates, and some of the pictures are absolutely delightful.
We grow beautiful pomegranates. We've got everything, the perfect soil for them. They're lovely, red, juicy, sweet. When we sell our pomegranates, the customers just come back and say more. We usually run out by then, but that's right. We also grow a few figs. We run sheep. And we run geese. So that's the holistic approach for weed control. Insect control is bringing all those elements together.
Fantastic. I want to refer to some of the things that we spoke about 2 years ago now, and it was really concerning me to hear about the biosecurity issue, in that red palm weevil. For our listeners, Dave, you can just explain briefly what is the red palm weevil and how big of a threat is it to Australia?
Right. Well, the red palm weevil is quite a large beetle-shaped insect that bores into the trunk of date palms and lays its larvae. The trunk gets eaten from the inside out, so it's actually quite hard to identify that there's even insects inside the trunk. But
Right.
then when the wind blows, it can snap them over and finished.
Right.
The red palm weevil affects more than just the date palm. It goes through a lot of different palm species, including our ornamental species like the Phoenix canariensis, which seems to be in every town in Australia, but also concerning it affects coconuts. Now, when we think about our northern tropical coastlines and islands, you know, they're just dotted with wild populations of coconuts unmanaged, and that's a spectacle for the tourist industry. If this weevil travels, then it's got a very large geographical footprint where it can travel, cool to tropical, temperate to tropical environments. It could be a real problem. So just taking a step back from that, basically, Gurra Downs Date Company, we import tissue culture date palm plants from a very well-known company in the UK called DPD. To get them into the country, they go through an aseptic process, and there's a lot of biosecurity checks and measures in place to make sure that the trees aren't coming in with any insects or diseases or viruses. And then we grow those trees out, and then we send them all over Australia, you know, crossing state borders, etc. So from a plant distribution setup, we've got a very good security, but unfortunately, from a fruit growing perspective, government have changed policy to now allow fresh fruit to come in from Middle East, North African countries.
Right.
That's been passed. So basically the threat there is fruit coming in from other countries that do have the red palm weevil. And in a box of dates, all you need is one pregnant female to crawl out. And then you know, I can't see us putting it back in again. It could be a real problem.
Yeah, the genie out of the bottle. Yes.
Yes. One pregnant female. That's all that's needed.
How secure are we, and what measures can be done by Biosecurity Australia as an entity?
They have got restrictions in place on how the fruit comes in. So there's as I understand it, the requirements have been approved for the fruit to come in. There is some post-arrival treatment that we hope will be sufficient to eliminate the pest problem, but we're only as good as the net that catches all the cargo that comes through. If there's only a small percentage of the fruit that's checked, if there's only a small percentage of the fruit that gets through somehow without the necessary treatments, you know, we could be in a lot of trouble, because it's not just the dates, as I said, it's ornamentals, nursery, landscaping plants. It's been devastating in other countries.
Well, it's something to be voicing a strong opinion to a local member of Parliament. I want to move on to just the absolute fantastic figures. What percentage of your fruit is sent overseas, Dave?
Oh, it's actually very small.
Right, okay.
We had our best crop ever last year.
Right.
And we moved the fruit through our domestic marketplace.
Yes.
And it was slow at times because we oversupplied the Sydney and Melbourne market, and it was very, very slow for that uptake.
Yep.
We did some fruit to UAE. We had an event over there. We sent fruit to promote the Australian date industry. And also I was trying to get fruit into Southeast Asia. I was working with a broker, but for the first time we started to identify competition. So with the fresh Bahi dates,
yes,
now Namibia are a big producer. Peru,
right? Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, 10 years ago, well, actually, if I go back to 2006, when we sent our first consignment of yellow dates into Abu Dhabi for a big conference,
yes,
and Anita, myself, and my son Sean attended that conference. we were treated like rock stars because it was the first time they'd seen yellow dates in February.
Yep.
But since 2006, there's been a major investment in Namibia.
Right.
Now Peru has surprised everyone. They've come on. So the actual time frame for yellow dates being available into international markets has extended right throughout the production period of Australia. And the cost of production in Namibia and Peru and South Africa, a lot less than Australia. So the trouble we ran into last year is the fruit we were competing against for the Southeast Asian market was achieving $4 a kilo farm gate price in Namibia.
Wow.
And we can't pick ours for $4 a kilo.
Yeah, I understand, yes. But at the end of the day, Australia is world recognized for its level of production in any shape or form, whether it's manufacturing or agriculture or aquaculture. So there's a premium price for the world to pay for that.
Yes, I'll happily sign you up as our marketing manager, Jerry. I think you'd be very good at it. Yes, it looks, certainly we've got a very good product, very good reputation, but I've also had the good fortune to have a go with the Namibian fruit as well. And they do a very good job too, I must say, because, I mean, they've got the best technology. There's been a lot of foreign investment and they've been they've been massive plantations that have gone in, well beyond the scale that we have here, and they're all done at a level that goes, to a very professional outfit, and it's good fruit. So I would have said 10, 15 years ago, this is wonderful being in this counter-seasonal production, where we can send our yellow dates off. But now, yes, it's still some advantage, but these places pick enormous amounts of dates every week, and they've just got to ship them because, of course, it's a perishable product.
Yes.
So they're packing 100 tons a week, and that's just going wherever the markets are. And that unfortunately for us, is ending up in Southeast Asia, where we actually were identifying as our closest geographical marketplace where we would like to be. So I think it's come back. It's more competitive. So a long story short, I wasn't able to supply that market because the Namibian fruit beat me into it, and I couldn't get anywhere near the price.
Just for me to understand, and I think the science behind growing dates in Australia was that it had to be at a particular latitude or altitude. And there was a particular point where this particular variety, and I know Egypt was in the process of planting 1 million palm trees, because I think Egypt lost a lot of palms when the Aswan Dam was getting built and so forth. There was a lot of flooding in that area, and there was a lot of palm trees that went underwater. But Egypt had a mission to plant 1 million palm trees, but a different variety.
Yes, there's been a major growth in the Egyptian marketplace, and there's been far more than 1 million trees planted. There's been massive developments. My understanding is there's been a memorandum of understanding with the United Arab Emirates.
Right.
And the United Arab Emirates are brilliant with their factories and processing lines.
Right.
And Egypt is the largest producer of dates in the world by a long way.
Right.
But it had a very small export percentage.
Right.
So now what's happening is, with all the new hygienic ways of collecting dates, washing, storing, packaging,
yes,
now they've got a real export focus, and they're actually moving into cultivars, in particular the medjool.
Oh.
Yes, the jewel of dates, the medjool. So they've planted a lot. The medjool's gone crackers all around the world. There's been a lot of traditional varieties replaced by the medjool because that's considered a high value date, and they're all looking at export. So whether that be into the European market or so basically, the prices on what we have known historically in our supermarkets for, like, for example, the Californian medjool, they're going to come. That's going to come under a lot of pressure now, because there's a lot of countries producing massive volumes of medjool, amongst others, and the cost of production is a lot less. And there's actually some concern that there's going to be an international oversupply of medjool amongst other dates.
I'll go back to, I'd love to go back to this very important thing, beautiful about our Australian dates. One, they're huge. They're massive. The medjools are so big. I've never, like on the Facebook pictures of your dates, they're massive. That's one thing. They are so sweet. That's two. So are we talking about the same quality? Is it the same quality? Is it the same taste? Because in the marketplace, we understand if you get a product that is 60% of appearance, 60% of taste, you'll have a shift of customers. But we still got a product in Australia that is valuable.
Oh, look, for sure. And you know, with our business, we are really looking to establish our brand name in our domestic marketplace. We think regardless of what price is the fruit coming in, we think that we've built a loyal customer base up over many years. You know, we get emails, we send fruit out to the same customers every year. It's been terrific. And, you know, some of our supermarkets are swinging behind. So in our case, Woolworths have been fantastic in sponsoring us. So they want the Australian fruit in there. So hope is that the Australian consumer just continues to purchase Australian grown dates. The product coming in from overseas is still, so you've got to remember, you know, like Egypt being North Africa, you know, the medjool originates from Morocco, very, very, very close, you know, similar latitudes, etc. So I think, you know, like they also grow very good fruit.
Okay, so I want to move on to, we love, like, going back to yellow Bahri or Bahi variety. Are they ready for delivery in Aprilish? In April in Australia, from your neck of the woods, 2023 out of the Riverland?
I would say we'll have yellow dates happening from probably, early April. It could even be mid-March. We'll see how kind the weather is to us.
Wow. Yeah,
we could have. Sorry, Joe, the screen froze there. Yes, we've got dates coming in from. We've actually got another grower who's actually got a good lot of dates coming in this year from Queensland. So there's another grower that's got a good mob of dates coming in from Charleville.
Charleville. Oh, well, look,
it's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine.
Charleville.
Sent him plants there. Yeah, and he's doing a terrific job. So there's going to be fruit coming in from multiple sources. So historically, it's been the Desert Fruit Company.
Yes.
They've been the early entrants into the growing dates. You know, then we came along in the late 1990s and grew dates. And in that time where we've sent date palms out to various customers, Mark's been one that's really taken the enthusiasm and really just unleashed it, and he's doing a mighty job up there, and he's got amazing Bahi fruit this year, and I just applaud him and his wife. About
the same, so about roughly about the same dates or about around the same time that our fruits are.
They'll be early. They'll be early because it's so hot up there. So they'll be probably mid-March, thereabouts, even a bit earlier. You know, they might be kind of early March, early to mid-March. Right. Maybe that. Like, fingers crossed. I don't like to say too much because in case it starts raining, you know, rain's our enemy, regardless of where you grow them. In the Riverland too, you get rain, it can spoil the crop. So I've got
a warning. I've got a 10-minute warning, Kayla. Okay, very quickly. The question is, how many kilos in a box? How much is a kilo of yellow Bahri, including costing? And how do we place an order to Gurra Downs?
Via email. Email is the best way and we will review the price at the time we judge the fruit. You know, if the fruits are really high quality, but just an estimation, it'll be around about $20 a kilo.
Right.
I mean, it might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more, but it'll be approximately 20 a kilo, which is a bit less than last year. Last year we we're the only people in the marketplace with significant amount of fruit, and it was just everything fell right. It doesn't happen like that every year, but we were $25 last year.
Yes.
But then the fruit was a bit slow to move, and we had trouble getting it through the market. So we nipped it back at the end of the season. So this year we'll probably start up at 20 a kilo and 5 kilo boxes.
Yep.
And the system that's worked well historically in COVID times, it hasn't been quite so good, but the Australia Post box in the bag,
yes,
overnight guaranteed next day delivery, has worked well.
Correct.
Australia Posts were a bit overwhelmed last year, and we had a few problems with delays. But from what I understand, that big online shopping frenzy that was occurring when everyone stayed home with the virus, I think that's somewhat eased. And and you'd probably know more than me, Jerry, about that topic.
I want to say thank you so much, because I'm getting the wind up from the app. So Dave, I sincerely want to say thank you ever so much for giving us your time, and we hope to catch up with you mid-March, late March, and talk about sales. And so for our listeners, they can go to Reilly at gurradowns.com.au.
Jerry, can I put one more plug in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For your listening audience, we also sell date palms. We sell them to individual people that, like, in their back garden, right through to big plantations.
Yes.
I've got a plant next to me here to give you some idea.
Yay!
So that's what we market, and we pop them in a phone box, and we send them all over Australia.
Well done.
If any of your customers feel lonely because they haven't hugged a date palm in a while,
Me.
send me an email.
I will
send a beautiful tree.
All right. So this is again, it's Reilly at gurradowns.com.au. I'll have
many varieties. We have many varieties, including Egyptian ones.
Yes.
Yes, Hayani.
And just
That red one. Yeah.
the red ones are coming along. Red palm.
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk some more about it. Bye now.
All right. Good. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.